Hello and welcome to the video. In today's video I'm just going to be doing a story time and also just an update on where I'm at and future plans for the channel. I've never really done story time videos before, so if you guys are interested in my stories, let me know. And if these aren't your type of content, then stay tuned. I'll try and get some more regular stuff out as soon as possible. So starting at the beginning of my trip, started a few weeks back was my last day in Utah. I got up very early, about, probably 6 a.m. to, get up and, work, get the house ready for move out because I was going to be going to the airport later that day. So I had to finish emptying the home. So worked hard, did all that and then, left for the airport a few hours later. When we first got to the airport, unfortunately I wasn't able to do much plane spotting outside the building at Salt Lake Airport just because, for people who know Thomas and Friends, there was a lot of confusion and delay going on with me and my family's baggage. But eventually we got in the building and we sat in the terminal for a few hours and I got to see some good planes while looking at out the terminal window. Nothing crazy came by, no Boeing 747s, no Airbus A380s, and definitely no McDonnell Douglas DC-10s because I believe all of them have been retired from passenger service according to my knowledge. So we sat there for a few hours and then eventually our plane showed up, which was a Southwest Airlines plane, which was going to take us to LAX. And I believe it was a smaller Boeing aircraft. I believe it was like a 737 or something like that. So 737 of Southwest took us to LAX. It was a good ride. It was my first time being on an airplane since 2010, and it was just crazy what the G-forces were like, when the pilots would turn, put the plane in a sharp turn, I'd really feel it in my head. Riding on, I've had I've had train rides and, car rides and all that type of stuff many times since 2010, but, trains and, cars don't put the same amount of, G-forces on your head, like planes do. So it was a very, very cool and, different experience. So, Southwest Airlines, 737, took us into Los Angeles, LAX. And, it was some cool things, flying over, but, it eventually, it quickly became not cool, once my feet landed on the ground. When I was flying over, I'm a fan of the NFL, for those who don't know, and we flew over the Los Angeles Rams, stadium as we were heading towards the airport. So we land, and obviously I'm a kid-friendly channel, PG, rated G, families and children, all that type of stuff. So I can't get into a lot of details about what I saw in Los Angeles, but it was just very trashy. Let's just leave it at that. Left LAX to go to a hotel. We thought, me and my family thought we would have some rest in the hotel. Our next flight to San Francisco, SFO airport, was only like 5 hours away by this point. So we thought we would just get a hotel for a little bit to rest. But we ended up only staying in the hotel for like 5 minutes because we remembered how long it took to get everything situated in Utah. So we knew we would need all those 5 hours to get ready to get on the San Francisco plane. Had a few bummer moments while in Los Angeles. As we were driving to the hotel, we were driving on the back side of the airport, which was where the cargo planes hang out. And there was a lot of trees, so all of the planes were pretty much hidden. But we were driving, and all of a sudden the trees cleared, and there was a FedEx MD-11 there. For people who don't know, the MD-11 is basically like the sister to the DC-10, one of my favorite planes. And unfortunately, my camera wasn't ready, so I missed them. So I was very disappointed and unhappy about that. And then the trees came back. A few seconds later, and the trees clear again, and there's another one of my favorites right there. A Chinese Airlines 747 is just chilling right there. And once again, my camera still wasn't on me, so I missed them. So now I'm like very disappointed because I missed like two of my favorite planes in like the span of 10 seconds. But it gets worse. So the trees and bushes start covering my view of the planes again. But then a few seconds later, the trees and bushes clear to reveal a cargo 747 in perfect view. And once again, no camera. So in the span of 20 seconds, I missed one MD-11 and two 747s. And I was just very disappointed about that. Because 747s are like one of my favorites, as well as the MD-11. And at this point in time, I had no photos of either of them. And I missed 3 good opportunities to get photos of them. So, sorry, bad allergies. So, go to the hotel, stay there for like an hour, and we leave and head back to the airport because we just realized it's not worth it staying there. And unfortunately, on the way back, we did not see those same cargo planes again, just because we were on a different road, so we didn't have the same good view that we had the last time. I didn't even see the MD-11 or the Chinese Airlines 747 again, but I was able to see the top of the cargo one, but it was no good. So get back to the airport and get on a Delta Airlines flight. If I remember correctly, it was like a smaller Airbus plane. So we fly that one to San Francisco, where we are where we're going to catch Korean Air to get to Seoul. Now, Korean Air, just like my favorite railroads, Korean Air is like my favorite airline because they operate, some of my favorite planes, like the 747, A380, and 777. My plane was a Boeing 777, so that was going to be my plane. But one thing about Los Angeles, before I move on to San Francisco, was I was disappointed because, I grew up watching a kids' train documentary called There Goes a Train. And in that documentary, for you guys who've seen it, Engineer Dave goes to a place called Los Angeles Union Station. And where I was currently staying at, and near the airport, not really where the hotel was, but like near the airport and where I had late dinner, was only like 10 miles away from where Engineer Dave went. The station was only like 10 miles away. And that's been a place that's been on like my bucket list to visit since I was like 6 years old and first saw that documentary. But, I was in a place that I didn't know. Like I was saying, the place is very shady and inappropriate, and it was dark, so I didn't have the chance nor the time to go see any trains at the station just because my flight left in 5 hours. It was dark, it was shady, it was creepy, so it didn't work out, real bummer. I wish I could have saw some trains there, but, it didn't work out. So we get to San Francisco, and like immediately as we're trying to get to the terminal, I can see, the tarmac, and I see our plane. I see our plane moving, down the runway, trying to get to the terminal. Fast forward, and we board on the Korean airplane. And I had done this flight before when I was younger, when I went to Korea, because my dad was in the Army in 2010. It's a 13-hour flight. And one thing I noticed is I knew the 13-hour flight was long the first time, but something about being a teenager and, when you're like 7 to 6 years old, it's a lot harder for you to get bored. But something like being, 17, 18, 19, you get bored easier or something. So it was a super long flight. Luckily they had movies, so I watched some of my favorite movies, and stuff. And, it was a good ride, very long. I actually got sick on the flight because I ate something in the airport, which I thought was safe. All I had was French fries, but the oil that they cooked in the French fries was not exactly the safest. So I was feeling, very, very, very bad, like a Dash 9 with a blown turbo, most of the flight. But luckily I got better by the time we got to landing. I was really excited to get to Seoul just because, I knew Seoul was my best chance to see some of my favorite airplanes, like the 747s and A380s, and Seoul, Korea definitely didn't disappoint. I saw probably about 10 Boeing 747s and probably about 9 Airbus A380s, and I feel like I missed a bit of an opportunity with the A380s just because I only got one good picture of one of them. It was the Asiana Airbus A380. I got a lot of good footage of 747s, but only one of the A380s. I'll get into why that is a little bit later. Of course, we stayed in Korea for a while because it eventually got dark while we were there. So when it got dark, that made it hard to take photos. So, in the terminal, it's just super crazy how much the place changed. I was there in 2010. But, it was just so modern, squeaky clean floors, computers and everything. I mean, it felt like everything was a computer. I mean, it felt like the doorknob could be a computer. It was just, very strange, cool, but, strange. So then our next and final flight is Jin Air to Clark, Philippines. And when we get on Gen Air, I'm excited because I'm thinking I'm going to get, some good opportunities to see more of the A380s, because I've already been buried in 747s, but I only got one picture of the A380. But that wasn't the case, because the Gen Air plane, for some reason, they thought it was a good idea to tint the windows gold. So unlike all the other flights where it was a clear window like you would find in your bedroom, where it's good for taking pictures out of, it was like, a copper penny type of gold tint to the window, so it would ruin any pictures you would try and take. And it really stunk, because as we were taxiing over to the runway, we basically found the airline equivalent of a storage yard for railroads. It was like the storage yard for Korean Air, and they had like 10 Airbus A380s perfectly lined up in a line, and it would have made a perfect photo shoot. But since the window was tinted gold, it just was no good. So I didn't get any really good footage of any Korean Air Airbus A380s, but I'm grateful for that one Asiana one I got, because I had none before I got to Seoul. Landed in Clark and I was tired. There was nothing. There was no like really cool planes there. There was just all the small, in-country planes. And that's, brings us up to the Philippines now. It's been a learning process. As far as railfan is concerned, it's definitely a weird country. There's some places where you can go here and you can find steam engines in active service. And then there's other places you can go where you can find modern electrics. And then there's other places you can go where you can find GE engines still in service in the 1970s. So it's kind of a weird place for railfanning. I've tried a few different towns. It's just like the way it was in America, where you have to try a few different places. If I'm being honest, it's really just like America, in the sense where the places in the Philippines that are really good are super good, very clean, friendly people, good food, all that type of stuff. But the places that are really bad are like Lakewood or Tacoma in Washington. They are just very, very bad. So it's just like that. Just been trying to find the right place. And the reason I was, asking if you guys to continue to support the channel, if all I can do is plane spotting and model railroading, is because one of the best places, in the country that I'm probably going to be living at, they have a railway. It's a small mining company railway. They have, like small narrow gauge diesels, and they also have some narrow gauge steam engines. So I'd like to get down there and look at their stuff. But it's a mining company. It's not like BNSF where you can just go to a public park and watch them. I'm not sure, how long their system is, and how can I watch their trains without trespassing on the property of the mill. So it would just be a lot easier for me to do plane spotting, and which I really like planes. Planes are like my second favorite. And then do, my new series of building a model railway, because that's my plan. So I hope you guys, you guys have had great support, and I'm glad, the majority of you, continue to support the channel, even if airplanes and toy trains become the majority, because once again, I'm not sure if I can just walk through the gates of a mill and watch the trains working, carrying supplies back and forth. I'm not sure if I can do that or not. Maybe. A lot of the people seem to be pretty chill here, so maybe they're completely fine with a stranger standing on company property watching, diesels and steam engines work. But, I don't know. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and watched this full video, and talk to you later.